FPL is finally back. The international break is coming to an end and we can now start to look forward to game week 13. So welcome to the FPL Fan Show channel, the award-winning channel. Thank you so much to those that did vote in the Football Content Awards. Ended up coming runner-up in that, which is a massive surprise. So a massive shout out to you guys that voted. And of course, welcome to anybody who is a new subscriber. But enough of that right now. You're here to find out what my game week 13 transfer plans are, as well as covering all the hot topics like what to do with Bowen and Mitoma. So as always, make sure you drop a like on the video. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Without further ado, let's get into this video. So first up, we need to have a little bit of a recap on how I got on in game week 12, just to give a little bit of context to this video. I promise this will be very short. So game week 12 was pretty decent, 76 points and a green arrow to 541,000th in the world. Previous to that, I was about 640k, so a decent green arrow. The only problem with game week 12 was I ended up using one of my free transfers to sell Tsimikas to Livramento. On the face of it, it was an absolute disaster. I think it was a 15-point swing. If I kept Tsimikas, oh my god, my green arrow would have been ridiculous. But sometimes these things happen. I thought Tsimikas was going to get rotated with Joe Gomez. We didn't know that Joe Gomez was actually injured for that game, so I'm happy with the decision. It is what it is with the outcome. And as I mentioned, I'm happy with the team. It was a good performance. Obviously, Mo Salah kind of carried the team with that 32-point haul, which included the captaincy, of course. 16 points for Haaland, which was fantastic. And of course, Gerard Bowen with that 8-pointer. Could that be his farewell song in my team? We will cover that in a minute. But as I mentioned, I'm happy with the overall rank. Just about 500,000. I want to get it down to obviously the top 300k in the next few weeks. And I plan on doing that with these upcoming transfers. So 76 points. Let me know how you got on in game week 12. Let's look ahead to how my game week 13 team is looking without any transfers. So here's how my team is currently looking, setting up for game week 13 without any transfers made. And again, for a bit of context, I have 0.4 million in the bank and 2 free transfers. So I'm in quite a strong position. I've had 2 free transfers for ages now, and I've just been using one of them. It was kind of the reason why I done the Tsimikas to Livramento last week. It was either burn a transfer or make that move. Now, looking at the team, I'm pretty happy with the players that I have as a long-term perspective. So Areola in goal, cannot keep a clean sheet for his life, but does it justify me selling him for another goalkeeper option? I'm going to say no. Yes, I would like someone like a Leno at Fulham because he's fantastic on the bonus points and the fixtures are okay, but I just don't think there's enough of it to be selling Areola right now unless I was really looking to make a transfer because the rest of the team had no problems. Looking at the defence, obviously looking at Livramento right now at home against Chelsea doesn't look the best, but I do think he definitely will start because Lewis Hall can't play against his parent club because currently he is being loaned from Chelsea. So I fully expect Livramento to start either at left back or at right back. Isn't the best fixture, but I fancy Newcastle at home to any team. We saw that when they played against Arsenal. Gabriel away against Brentford, absolutely fine. And Mark Guy away against Luton. So the back three look decent. I'm going to come onto the bench in a minute because that could be an impending transfer for my team. The midfield, Son, yes, we have some question marks about Spurs right now, but Son is absolutely fine for this game week. Cole Palmer, a lot of people want to buy him. I'm very happy that I own him right now. Away against Newcastle isn't the best fixture, but right now is offering too much value on penalties. And I want to see what Nkunku's game time is going to do to Cole Palmer going forward, because while others may jump on him, I may look to move away in a few game weeks' time if Palmer is a little bit of a rotation risk, but nothing to worry about right now. Bowen is the big one. Saka, Salah, I don't need to talk about them ahead of game week 13 because for me, they are locks long-term into my team. Bowen is the big issue. Now, for those that don't know, he left the international duty of England due to an injury, but we don't have any context right now how long-term it is going to be, even whether he's going to be ruled out for the weekend. So what I would advise first and foremost is make sure you're following the account because I will update you and obviously all the big accounts on Twitter if there is going to be updates in the Friday press conference. Hopefully we'll get something from David Moyes, which is a little bit concrete on the Bowen situation. But if he is going to be ruled out for the weekend, even for his one game week, because I have 2 free transfers available, I will most likely sell Jarrod Bowen. I will come on to a minute on the 2 top players to replace him for my personal team. Outside of that, Watkins and Haaland. A few FPL managers talking about selling Watkins, but with the Spurs defensive problems that they have with no Van de Ven and obviously no Romero. I'm more than happy to keep Watkins right now, even though Aston Villa away from home are a different beast to that at home. I just don't see any other forwards that I'm really inclined to buy this game week, and I want to keep him as a bit of a placeholder for potentially Nkunku at Chelsea once he does get a run in that Chelsea team, and obviously Erling Haaland is staying. Now, as I mentioned, the bench is where my transfer could happen. Matty Cash away against Spurs. Now, the big thing about Matty Cash right now is he isn't looking at the best fixtures coming up. Game week 13, they have Spurs away, followed by Bournemouth away, which I actually think is an okay fixture for both defensive and offensive potential. Then they have Man City at home and Arsenal at home, which isn't ideal. But then after that, the fixtures are really good for Matty Cash. Brentford away, Sheffield at home, Man United away, Burnley at home. Some really solid fixtures over that period. So although Matty Cash doesn't look good for this game week, I don't necessarily think there are any massive defenders that I want to bring into this team. I have Arsenal coverage already in someone like Gabriel, so I could definitely do Matty Cash to Saliba, go for the double up in defence, but Saliba isn't necessarily an exciting pick to bring into your teams. Whenever I have defenders, I like to have that one player that is that kind of high upside pick. So for example, over the years, it's been a Trent, a Trippier, or an Estupinan. And that player in this team was Matty Cash. If I were to sell him for somebody like a Saliba, I don't really have that high upside defender that I always like owning. I would have Saliba, Gabriel, Guy, all being centre-backs, and then someone like a Livramento who could be that exciting pick, but he doesn't have that guaranteed game time to justify him being that high upside pick. So Cash to Saliba is on the cards if we have no other problems with the team, but I'm a little bit reluctant to do it because I actually think Cash could be an okay hold for the longer term just because of the other defensive problems. So teams looking like this. Let me quickly cover off the best Jarrod Bowen replacements for my own personal team. So in terms of Jarrod Bowen replacements, I think there are other options available outside of both Eze and Mbeumo that I've put on the screens here. I think Cole Palmer needs to be a consideration for your FPL teams if you don't own him already. At 5.2 million, it's just FPL gold right now, and being about $1 million or so cheaper than these two options, I think Cole Palmer definitely comes into the mix, but these two are really, really fantastic options. And as I said, this is going to be a transfer plan video for my own team, so I do apologise if it's a little bit more niche, but I think this applies to a lot of people out there. So Eze at 6.1 million and Mbeumo at 6.8 million are top of the charts for me as replacements. I want to quickly cover off the underlying numbers for both. I do apologise if it is a little bit small. Let me know in the comments, as I'm always trying to improve the graphics that we have on the screen. So mainly what we want to look at is the XG per 90. Mbeumo leading the way at 0.55, Eze at 0.36. But we do need to note that both of these have had penalties this season, so that does slightly skew the XG per 90. But both being penalty takers is a fantastic thing for FPL. I always talk about this. The team can play terrible, the player can play terrible, but if they get a penalty, they are right in and amongst it, and they can easily get a double-digit haul having that penalty alone. We see it with the likes of Bruno Fernandes week in, week out for someone like a Man United. And look at the expected assists. Eze slightly leads the way at 0.26. As a actual well-rounded asset, I actually think Eze is the better pick in terms of chance creation and goal threat. But Mbeumo is head and shoulders above in terms of being the goal scorer in this Brentford team, still having to replace the goals that they lack with Ivan Toney not being in the team. And you can also see that with the expected FPL points being in Mbeumo's favour at 6.36. And quickly touching on the fixtures as well. Brentford's are slightly better longer term. Arsenal at home doesn't feel like the best entry point in game week 13. But then Luton at home, Brighton away, which I don't think we should be fearful at all of. Then Sheffield United and then Aston Villa at home. Again, I don't really fear Aston Villa when they are playing at home against them. Palace, on the other hand, have that amazing Luton fixture in game week 13. So it is worth noting that. Then West Ham away, which I don't think is a bad fixture at all, with West Ham struggling to keep clean sheets. Followed by Bournemouth at home. I think that's a great fixture. Then a few tricky ones, Liverpool and then Man City. So if you're focusing on game week 13, I think Eze is the pick. And I think you could hold Eze for the next 3 game weeks. However, I just think if you have an opportunity to bring Mbeumo back into your teams, you do it. Bowen down to Mbeumo is actually a cheaper move and it will free up some funds in your team. I think you just go for Mbeumo. Yes, game week 13 isn't the best entry point, but Brentford at home, don't really hate it, to be honest with you. And then you have Mbeumo in place for that game week 14 fixture at home against Luton, which I think is the really big thing. I wouldn't even be surprised if Luton put up a tricky display against Crystal Palace, being at their own ground. It's worth noting, Mbeumo will have a blanket game week 18, but you can kind of deal with that with transfers in the future or maybe a free hit. So if Bowen's ruled out, I will be favouring bringing in Mbeumo into my team with the plan of him being more of a longer term move, knowing that Eze could do well in the next week or two. I think Mbeumo is the lock, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. So if Bowen is going to be ruled out for game week 13, this is how my team would look. I would use one of my 2 free transfers. I would sell Bowen and bring in Mbeumo for that home fixture against Arsenal. Not ideal for the week, considering I probably will be starting Gabriel away against Brentford, so they're kind of counteracting one another, but sometimes you just get those game weeks. I could consider maybe starting Matty Cash, but then I'll have the same problem of Son versus Cash. So we're going to have matchups regardless in this game week. It is what it is sometimes. So that would be the move if Jarrod Bowen is going to be ruled out. And I'll be pretty content with this team as a long term, rolling the other transfer, knowing that I'll have 2 available for my team in game week 14. However, if we get a situation where Bowen is actually available for the weekend, and I'm praying he is, because Burnley away is a fantastic fixture for Bowen, and with the injury to Antonio, it looks like Bowen is going to play as a forward, and I actually don't mind him playing in that situation because it means Kudos will play on the right side. Again, another injury doubt. It is worth noting to Kudos, and I think Bowen just becomes an even better FPL option at times. But if he is available, which I'm praying, then Saliba would come in for Matty Cash. Again, a very boring transfer for me, and it would require me using some of my money in the bank to get him, because Cash right now 5.2, Saliba 5.4. So it is quite a big investment for a centre-back who's just pretty steady. He does get in the bonus points better than that of Gabriel, so I would have the better Arsenal defender, and I would be doubling up on them this week. I think I would reap the returns long-term because the fixtures are quite good for Arsenal, but it feels quite a boring FPL transfer, but sometimes they need to be done. So this is how the team would look if Bowen is available. Saliba coming in, it would then downgrade Livramento to the bench, which I'll be pretty content with, starting Cole Palmer over him just for the penalties that Palmer offers. So this will be the team if Bowen is available. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. In terms of captaincy, I'm currently leaning towards going for Son at home against Aston Villa's high line, but as we get closer to the deadline, I would be tempted maybe to put it on Erling Haaland just for that safety pick, but right now it is on Son. Yes, guys, okay, that is going to wrap up today's Game Week 13 transfer plans video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what your transfer plans are in the comment section. If you have any questions, as always, I will answer them. So get going down there. As again, thank you so much for voting for me in the Football Content Awards. Runner-up is a massive surprise, but I am massively appreciative. If you can, drop a like on the video, smash that subscribe as always. I will be doing a Game Week 13 preview video as well as a Game Week 13 team selection and the deadline live. So you want to make sure you stick around for that. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.